You're listening to The Locker Room, your home for professional and Quinnipiac sports.
There is no doubt in my mind at all that the New England Patriots are the best franchise in the NFL in the past 15 years.
You're out!
If Mike Trout can stay on the field, we're looking at one of the best players in Major League Baseball history.
It blows my mind that Kendrick Perkins is still a player in the NBA.
Here are your hosts, Austin Basile, Jason Davis, and Josh Brewer. Good evening, sports fans. You're listening to The Locker Room. 98.1 WQAQ. Josh Brewer alongside Jason Davis. Another two-man crew this week.
Oh, yeah.
As the third member of The Locker Room is doing his internship with a radio show.
Yeah,
So,
I see some tampering going on. Might have to file a complaint.
like the Patriots did with the Jets there, and
No, you don't know what you're
Mr.
talking
Darrell
about.
Rivas.
Yeah, well, you guys did it too, so.
Yeah. All right. It is what it is. So, not too much happened this week. There wasn't a lot.
Of all the weeks we've done, this is probably the quietest week we've had in sports.
Yeah, just because Quinnipiac sports, as we're going to talk about, are pretty much done with our men's hockey team. That was the last team standing in the NCAA tournament. Other than that, the NCAA tournament's winding down, heading into the Final Four. Baseball hasn't really kicked off yet. This is actually our last show before baseball does officially start. No NFL, NBA, and NHL seasons are winding down.
Yeah.
So if you're in the Eastern Conference, basically it doesn't matter unless you're the Cavs.
Yeah, I guess.
And then the Western Conference will be entertaining just because there's so many good teams and so many
Very
ways
talented over there.
Yeah, so many different ways that could play out. So pretty quiet overall compared to some recent weeks. But just starting off with the Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team. So they enter the NCAA tournament as the 14 seed, and unfortunately they had to travel all the way out to Fargo, North Dakota.
Where?
Yeah, exactly.
Middle of nowhere.
And not only did they have to travel all the way out to Fargo, North Dakota, they also got to play the University of North Dakota.
Oh boy!
So guess who's the home team?
Yeah, I guess, right?
in that
they get
scenario?
all their fans to show up. We get none.
So I guess it was kind of good that it wasn't North Dakota's arena that they played at. They did play somewhere else. So I guess technically it's a neutral site.
Yeah,
exactly.
But not really.
It was only about an hour or so away.
It's like if we played in like Hartford or Bridgeport.
Yeah.
It would have been neutral site. But not really.
You know that a ton of people showed up at that game.
They had all the fans.
They all love hockey anyway, because what else do you do out there? Exactly.
It snows 8 months out of the year.
Yeah, so it's either hockey or nothing. So they had the clear advantage there. And the Bobcats dropped that game 4-1. That was Friday the 27th to end their season. So I was surprised that Sam Annis actually played in this game. Because
I was not expecting that at all.
Right. He did practice. I saw some pictures and some tweets that he was wearing the red penny for no contact in practice and everything like that. And my initial thought was, hey, this is just a smokescreen.
Yeah.
Make Notre Dame, the other ND, make North Dakota, kind of prepare for Sam Annis, just because you want to have a game plan against him, just because, as we've seen, he can take over a game. We just saw that the Bobcats were down 3-1 one game. And then what happens?
He single-handedly brought them back.
Exactly. He scores back-to-back goals in 49 seconds. So, from my point of view, I thought, the Bobcats were just saying, hey, we're going to make it look like Sam Annis is going to play,
but then
so
not
that
actually
North Dakota has to prepare for that, and then he's just not going to play, right? So, that's what I thought. Obviously, that was not the case, because Annis played, and he played, I wouldn't say full minutes like he normally would, full shifts, but he did play a significant amount of time. He got 5 shots off. He finished -2, though.
That's not good.
But then again, no one had good plus-minus in a 4-1 loss. So, I guess, I don't know. I feel like that kind of is risky, because
I don't know how to feel about that.
From what I heard, and I believe it was the Chronicle who reported that he had a sprained MCL. I don't know if you want the best player on your team playing with that kind of injury.
Yeah, the training staff must have really took a long evaluation about it and said it's very minor, and said if he can go, but you should be careful with it, I guess. I don't know, because if he got hit low or took a weird turn on his skates or something, he could have, if it was strained enough, he could have restrained it. He could have actually tore it.
Right. Yeah, you're looking at this type of injury, and then with the type of movement that hockey players have to do, especially someone who attacks as much as Ennis does, with the speed and the lateral movement and the quick stops and the going and the dekes. Yeah, he kind of relies on his knees a lot. So for them to play him, I feel like the injury, I don't want to say it's not that bad, but
it must not have been as bad as we thought.
Exactly, because I don't think they would risk 2 years of Sam Ennis.
It's not like he's a senior and this was going to be his last game of his career, but he has years ahead of him, so you don't want to risk that.
Exactly. I would rather take the loss this year and have Sam healthy for the start of next year than win and potentially have him, they play what? They would have to play 2 more games after that. Yeah. So what if he gets hurt then?
Yeah,
then what?
Exactly.
So, it would be a long recovery process if he did get hurt. So I feel like the injury isn't as bad, like you said, as we originally hoped, because as we mentioned last week, MCLs, if it was an MCL, not something you really want to be playing with and risk getting hurt more.
Any knee sort of injury is kind of scary.
Yeah. So the Bobcats, unfortunately, they only mustered 1 goal in the 4-1 loss. It came from Andrew Taverner, who scored. And the Bobcats, they scored that 4-on-6 goal a few games ago when the opposing team was on the power play, and then they took their goalie out. So now Quinnipiac goes on the 6-on-4, and they score again. So, whenever it's 6-on-4, either way, the Bobcats are going to score.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so Quinnipiac was only 1 for 8 on the power play, though.
They had 8 power plays and couldn't cash in once.
Yep, that's 12.5%.
And you couldn't even take momentum and score 5-on-5 after that. That just shows how good North Dakota is at recovering from playing undisciplined hockey.
Yep, so North Dakota scored the first goal of the game from Tucker Poolman at 12:59 of the first. And, 1-0, playing in North Dakota, that's expected.
And it took them 13 minutes to score. It's not like they scored right off the bat. So
Yep. Then they led 3-0 after 2. Brian Chiswick scored at 7:09. And Drake Kajula scored shorthanded at 9:05. I looked up Drake Kajula because I saw that last name and I just thought it looked cool.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me see if this kid has some highlights. Holy cow. He is so good.
Explains why he scored shorthanded.
Yeah. After the show, if you guys have, everybody has a free moment, but if you're interested in college hockey and some good college hockey, look up Drake Kajula from North Dakota because his highlights were unbelievable. Wow. Taking defenses on by himself and scoring. And I was awestruck. It was crazy. But anyway, back to the game. After falling behind 3-1, Taverner does score that goal. So the Bobcats, cut it to a 3-1 deficit. Bo Pieper and Tanner McMaster assisted it. But, it's win or go home, so the Bobcats had to go empty net. And you kind of just hope that the extra skater
helps out. You get a goal or two.
You have one more person, so, you should be able to maintain control and possession. And if you don't, you'll have enough people so that you can get the puck back. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Luke Johnson from North Dakota scores with 16 seconds to go, gives Notre Dame the 4-1 win, and that ended the Bobcats men's ice hockey season.
It's a bummer.
It is. I guess I kind of expected it, though.
Yeah.
Going into this game, I didn't really think the Bobcats had
2 seed,
coming in as 14
position to be in.
So North Dakota actually went on and they beat St. Cloud State in the quarterfinals 4-1. So they went 4-1, and now they play Boston University. Boston University was playing Yale in Manchester. That game went into overtime.
Yeah. That was a crazy
Boston
game.
University is dominant. And the fact that Yale took them into overtime, they were tied 2-2 at one point. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it's probably one of the greatest games so far played.
Considering that Yale lost their 3-game series to Harvard in the ECAC quarters, you're kind of thinking, one, I didn't even think they were going to make the tournament because they lost that series.
They made it in.
Right. And then I was also upset that they got to play closer to home than the Bobcats did. Yeah. But then it was really a toss-up. Would you rather play North Dakota or BU?
Yeah, either way.
Yeah,
it's a tough game.
It's a tough game, right? So, that game went into overtime. Boston University prevails, and they played Minnesota, and they won that game 3-2. So it'll be Boston University and North Dakota in the semis. But then, did you catch the 1/16 matchup? It was MSU Mankato against the Rochester Institute of Technology.
No,
did you
I didn't
get
to see that game.
RIT was the 16 seed.
Yeah.
Minnesota State University Mankato, the number 1 seed. RIT won 2-1.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy game.
Wow. This is the biggest upset so far.
Yep. So, we're talking about NC basketball tournament time and how, it's March Madness and everything like that. And we did see some big upsets with teams like UAB and taking out Iowa State and things like that. But then to see this, a 16 take out a 1, which has never happened in basketball tournament. To see the Rochester Institute of Technology, they play hockey?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
To see them take out a dominant team was so surprising. So it was 1-1 in the third, and RIT is bringing the puck down. They're in the neutral zone, coming in. I guess the guy who had the puck was in the circle, and they had another guy cutting towards the net. And the RIT, I guess the forward, kind of pushed his defender a little bit. Not a lot.
Yeah.
Very minimal contact, but I wouldn't even say he really pushed him. But the Minnesota defender skated right back into his goalie, knocked the goalie over.
Oh.
So all of a sudden you have a defender and the goalie just on the ground.
Like open net. Really.
Open net. And they took a 2-1 lead late in the third.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's unlucky.
So the refs had to review it because, it
must have been very minimal contact or like accidental for them to rule it that it wasn't, he didn't push the guy onto the goalie.
Yeah, so they were debating whether or not it was goalie interference because then obviously the goal wouldn't count. So they looked at the replay and everything and determined that it was good, and RIT moved on, and their bench was ecstatic.
I mean, imagine.
As a 16 seed, no one's really giving them a chance, and they won. So then they move on to the next round against Omaha, and they lose 4-0. So it was short-lived, but still pretty cool nonetheless to see.
I would take that win. Too bad you lost, but you guys beat the 1 seed, so.
Yeah, I mean, pat yourselves on the back. That's a great. Not only did you make the tournament, you also dismantled the 1 seed. So shout out to Rochester Institute of Technology for their win. So that was good to see. But as we mentioned, Quinnipiac basketball. Oh, I wish they were in the tournament.
Right.
But NCAA basketball. We're down to the Final Four now. So Kentucky. Oh, what a game!
That was a great game.
What a game! So they play Wichita State, and that game was close, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and man, crazy that Notre Dame almost pulled that one out. It was.
It was towards the end and it was tied. I really thought this was it. I saw it happening. I could see like the final few minutes going by. Notre Dame really pulls it together, gets a great shot off, goes ahead, plays great defense at the end, and stifles and beats the number 1 seed in Kentucky. I really wanted it to happen because somebody has to do it.
I kind of want to see them go undefeated just because it hasn't happened yet. So like that part of me wants to see it happen.
Yeah. You want to see the history, but you also kind of always want to root for the underdog.
Yeah, that's true. So in this game, Kentucky, they took the largest lead of the game. That largest lead of the game was 5 points.
Yeah, that's not really.
And at this point,
lead.
People are saying, okay, Kentucky's pulling away. Go Wildcats. They're going to remain undefeated. Notre Dame gave them a good run, yada, yada. All of a sudden, Notre Dame responds, and they go from 5 down to 4 up. So... whoa.
That's a huge momentum shift.
Exactly. So now you're thinking, all right, this could be it. We thought Kentucky had a chance to be upset last game, and then they double up their opponent. Yeah. So there goes that. But Notre Dame now has the lead, and you're thinking, okay, what's Kentucky going to do? Because Adam Harrison hadn't hit a shot until that point. So what they wound up doing was just feed the ball to Karl Anthony Towns, and nobody was stopping Karl Anthony Towns.
Nope.
He was perfect in the second half. He was either 8-8 or 9-9 from the field. I don't remember what it was, but it was 100% from the field. As a team, the Wildcats didn't miss a shot in, I believe, the last 12 minutes, 9 seconds of that game.
Really?
12 minutes and 9
That's
seconds
quite the feat.
Without missing a shot. I was talking to my intramural team yesterday, and I said I couldn't make every shot in 12 minutes if I was by myself in the gym. Just shooting around.
I couldn't even do that if I was just taking layups. and this one eventually.
And this team, against one of the best teams in the country, Kentucky makes all of their field goals.
Wow.
So, I mean...
It just shows how good they are.
If you want the definition of clutch...
That's it.
I think that's pretty much it. So, Harrison does hit a 3, later on, and then everyone's going crazy saying Kentucky's won. He hit it with 2.5 minutes left. But then again, Notre Dame fights back. Grant hits a 3 right back at him. It was the only 3 of the game he hit.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, it's a clutchest one.
Yeah.
Yep.
That always seems to happen.
Always. But Kentucky pulls it out. They are going to take on Wisconsin, who unfortunately beat up on Arizona.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, because I had Arizona winning.
Me too.
Yeah. I was trying to go out of the box.
Yeah, my bracket, I didn't want to be the one going with the conform and with everybody else pick Kentucky to win. So I was like, I'll go with Arizona. My bracket's not great. But I was like, all right, I have 3 of the 4 Final Fours, like I thought I did. And then Arizona lost. And I was like, you kidding me?
Yep. So
I have no chance to winning any type of bracket thing I've done. So
yeah, I was actually coming back. I obviously didn't start off very well. I didn't even check my bracket for the first several days. When I finally did check, I was in about the 60th percentile. Worked my way up back to about the 69th or 70th.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So I was like, okay, respectable, not bad, considering my terrible start.
Yeah, right.
And then Arizona just loses, and
there goes everything.
Yeah, so now I'm not going to check again because I know for a fact that I'm not going to finish well. So Kaminsky and Decker for Wisconsin have been absolutely phenomenal, and they're so good.
Yeah, they're really good.
They're athletic, and you kind of don't expect it, but then they do that, and you're like, whoa, this team can really play.
Yeah, they're a lot better than
they have a lot of individual talent. They have the team talent. They play well together. So that's going to be a fantastic matchup. I can't wait for that.
Kentucky, Wisconsin, April 4th at 8:50 p.m.
And then we have Louisville and MSU playing. And geez, Tom Izzo's teams,
they were good
once they get to the tournament. I don't understand. I always pick them because history says pick Tom Izzo coach teams. Right? Because this happens every single year. They're so up and down, inconsistent, whatever you want to call it, during the regular season and during their conference tournament. It's almost like none of that matters because they get to the NCAA tournament.
And they win.
And all they do is win games. And it blows my mind, but they did it again.
Yep.
Defeating Louisville.
That was a great game to watch. We were watching that together on your laptop when they were playing towards the end of the game, and I noticed how good Michigan State's defense was.
Smothering.
Louisville could not get a clean shot off. All of their shots were they seemed forced, especially the ones down in the paint. Michigan State got a lot of hands on the ball or in front of their face, so they couldn't shoot clean. It was great defense.
It was. So now MSU gets to take on the number 1 seed. 3 number 1 seeds made it to the Final Four, which is interesting because I feel like that doesn't happen too often. But they get there. They're going to take on the Duke Blue Devils. There you go. Jahlil Okafor, Coach K. That's going to be another great game.
It was like history. It's like his 12th time in the Final Four or something like that.
Unbelievable run.
Yeah.
Not only do you have to be a fantastic coach, you also have to be a great recruiter.
Yeah, he's consistently had one of the best teams every year.
Right, because you can be the greatest coach ever, but if you don't have the talent,
right, it doesn't matter.
Right, and vice versa. If you get the great talent, but you're a horrible coach, you're not going to go far.
Nope.
So Duke just they've had the perfect combination for quite a while, which is, Coach K coaching Team USA and everything. I was going to
say that's probably why he's coaching the country's team.
Yep, because he just knows how to make players work together. So once again, just to wrap up the men's NCAA tournament, you have 3 1 seeds. You're going to have Kentucky and Wisconsin April 4th for a spot in the championship. And then you're going to have Michigan State University taking on Duke in a 1-7 matchup. But obviously you can't count Michigan State out.
I saw a weird coincidence about that. Last year, UConn, they came into the tournament, the 7th seed. They were 12-6 in their conference. So was Michigan State. They came in, nobody was really... thought they'd do well, or they thought they'd do whatever. UConn won it all last year, as we all know, as the 7 seed and all that. Michigan State came in 7 seed. They were 12-6 in the conference, and they're going into the Final Four as well. And I didn't actually double check this, but I'm pretty sure Kentucky and Wisconsin played each other on the opposite Final Four last year, as well as this year. And I think that's weird. History's sort of repeating itself, except with Michigan State.
Right.
So maybe there's another story there. Maybe Michigan State's going to win it all.
Yeah. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Just because of how well they play in the most intense situations every year in, year out. So, 2 great games. It'll be.
I can't wait.
Yep.
It's too bad it's like a week we have to wait for it.
Yeah. But the games start off fast-paced, game,
always games
all
playing.
day for the first 2 days. And then after that, gotta
It's
wait
like
a couple days.
off.
Yeah.
Only a few games to be played that day.
Yep, and then you have to wait like a week.
I don't know why they call it March Madness if the final's in April.
Don't worry about it. Don't question
Doesn't make
things.
sense to me.
Yeah. We're going to have Robert Deary come on pretty soon, talk some baseball, because this is the last show that we're going to have.
Training's wrapping up.
Right, before opening day, which is exciting. Just did my fantasy draft last night.
Oh, did you? How'd that go?
I'm a little disappointed in my team. I don't think I drafted that well. The league we're in is custom scoring, so it kind of favors pitchers a little more than it does the hitters, just because you get a great pitcher like, Clayton Kershaw or something like that. So you'll have weeks where Kershaw will have 2 starts.
Oh, yeah.
And since he's Clayton Kershaw, he's going to get you maybe 20 points a game. But the way the scoring works is now that he might get you, as many as 25 points per start. It's 10 points for a win. You get a point for each out he records, a point for each strikeout. You get, 10 for a complete game or something like that.
Oh, wow.
So the points are going to add up.
Yeah, it'll add up for those
especially
good
when you
pitchers.
have a dominant pitcher like Clayton Kershaw or Felix Hernandez. I had the 4th pick. So if Kershaw was available, I was going to take him immediately, without a doubt. Take him over Trout, McCutchen, whoever. He was picked 2nd.
Unlucky.
Felix Hernandez was picked 3rd. So all of a sudden, the 2 most dominant pitchers are gone.
We have nobody.
So I said, all right, am I really going to reach for a pitcher with the 4th pick now who's not nearly as good as the first 2 that were picked? I got Andrew McCutchen.
Yeah, that's so good.
Who does a lot of everything. He hits for average. He has power. He'll knock in runs. He steals some bases. So I'm happy with that. But he's not Clayton Kershaw or Felix Hernandez. No. So,
but if you work your magic like you did in fantasy football, a lot of trades, waiver wire pickups.
That is true. Well, some of those trades shouldn't really have been accepted by other parties. So, we'll see about that. But Rob is an intern for the Red Sox. He works in their marketing department, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah. He's going to try to go into baseball operations when he interns for them this summer. So we're going to have him on, talk some AL East action, some Red Sox, some Yankees, a little preview of the AL East, see how the Orioles, the Rays, the Blue Jays are going to do. Because AL East has been remarkably different from what we're used to.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. That'll be coming up shortly. But right before we get to that, just want to briefly touch on the NHL and NBA seasons, regular seasons are finally coming to a close. Yep. Teams are starting to clinch. My Rangers clinched. Your Bruins.
They are in the 8th spot.
They are fighting for that wild card right now.
Because guess who we just beat? The Rangers.
You know what? That was Hendrik Lundqvist's first game back.
Yeah, but your team didn't play well as a whole. It's not just him.
He brought the team down. That's what it was.
Oh, okay. The Bruins did play really well in that game. I watched the whole game. First time I've watched. I feel like I should get season tickets for the Bruins because when I was home on breaks and I was actually able to watch the games and I got to go to a few, the Bruins played well and on winning streaks. And then when I'm back at school and I'm too busy with homework and other events and stuff, the Bruins go on losing streaks. So I went right into the Boston Bruins head office. See if I can get season tickets because I seem to be their lucky charm.
Well, right now you're 3 points ahead of the Senators for that 8 seed. So I will be rooting for Ottawa for the remainder of the season. Unless they're playing the Rangers, who are currently second at 101 points. They're behind the Canadians. But go Rangers. Hope the Bruins don't make it. And I won't see you later off in the playoffs. That's that.
Well, I hope we do. It'll be an interesting because all those teams down at the bottom are all really close in points. So
it's true.
It takes a team to lose a few games, a team to win a couple in a row. Complete change up of everything. So
and even those lower seeds in the East, I'd be scared to play the Red Wings or the Capitals.
Yeah.
Those are good teams.
They're good, yeah.
Especially when you have a guy like
is good, yeah.
Ovechkin who can take over a game.
Take over a game, yeah. Red Wings together as a whole team, they're very good.
Yeah, that's scary. Briefly, NBA before we head over to baseball. The Nets, 8 seed.
Oh, you guys got it.
Oh, yeah. You know, I mean, we're going to play the Hawks.
Well,
so,
yeah. That's not
yeah, cringeworthy because the Hawks play outstanding team basketball. And then there's the Nets who kind of just play basketball sometimes.
They're barely getting by right now, and somehow they ended up in the 8th spot.
Yeah, they've been winning
sad conference,
recently. Oh, yeah, the Eastern Conference as a whole is just
awful.
Yeah, nothing that you want to really talk about.
Only the top 5 playoff teams are above 500. Then after that, everybody is below 500. That's really sad.
Yeah, it's rough. So, I mean, look at that. Brooklyn, 8 seed, 8 games under 500. Just to compare that, the Oklahoma City Thunder are the 8 seed in the West, 10 games over 500.
Wow. Look at that.
10
They're
over
so
500.
Much more talented over in the Western Conference.
Yep. That's crazy. If Oklahoma City was in the Eastern Conference instead of the Western Conference, they would be in the 5 seed? Yeah, they would take over the Wizard spot.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at it. Utah, who has just mathematically been eliminated from the playoffs, if they were in the Eastern Conference, they'd be a half a game back from the 8th spot. Like, you could go from being pretty much in playoff contention to being completely eliminated from the playoffs just because of your conference. And it's so unbalanced. I feel like they need to sort of do something about that.
Yeah.
If it continues to be this way.
It's true. And they've talked about sort of redoing things so that just the top 16 teams make it overall instead of doing 8 from the East and 8 from the West, because I'm sorry, I'm a huge Nets fan, love the Nets, applied for an internship with the Nets. At 32 and 40, you don't deserve to make the playoffs. I'm sorry. No. So, getting a call right now from Rob. So let's see if we can get these phones to work and hopefully talk some baseball here. Rob, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
All right, how's it going, Rob? Thanks for joining us.
On air.
It's going good. Thank you for having me on the show tonight.
All right, yeah, absolutely, not a problem. So we just wanted to get your opinion on some baseball things, but first, for all our listeners who don't exactly know what you're doing as an intern with the Red Sox, can you just take us through it? Take us through that real quick.
So for the first 2 summers, I worked in their marketing department, precisely with a lot of the fan travel stuff they do. They have a big presence in the fan travel industry and the sports world. They also do stuff for the Cubs, the Indians, Nationals. They picked up the Dodgers this year. So I worked on a lot of that stuff. And then the ownership group of the Red Sox also owns Liverpool and half of Roush Fenway Racing. So a lot of that marketing stuff goes into that as well. Right,
got you. And what are you trying to do this year? Are you trying to go into a baseball ops with the team this season?
Baseball ops or the actual marketing department in the front office this year. Baseball ops would be the best case scenario just because it would be dealing with baseball and watching baseball all day. But marketing would be another close second since it is my major.
Right. Can you describe a little bit of the work that someone would do in baseball ops?
So it's a lot of, from what I've understood, I've talked to a few people in the baseball ops department. There's a lot of scouting. Every day they go on and just start looking at highlight reels of different players in college. Right about now, they'll start getting prepared. Since the spring's wrapping up, they'll start preparing for the first-year player draft that happens every year and start looking at possible college players or international players that they can sign at the end of the year.
Wow, that sounds awesome. Have a little take yourself on who the Red Sox pick up or sign or don't sign.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a lot of power to you. So we just want to talk some AL East, some Red Sox, some Yankees. Red Sox made a lot of moves this offseason. First off, what are your thoughts on John Lester? He was sort of one of the first decisions that the Red Sox had to make, and he's with the Cubs now. What are your thoughts on John Lester leaving town?
To be completely honest, I'm still a little heartbroken over it.
Yeah, I feel you on that one.
I was really hoping he'd come back, and I know the Red Sox philosophy on spending so much money on 30-year-old players, especially pitchers, that they'll sign these long contracts and not be worth it at the end. But John Lester's kind of a different story just because he's been with the organization for so long, has such a presence in that clubhouse. He could have been a great role model for the younger pitchers like Henry Owens, Brian Johnson, and Edwin Escobar to look up to, and when it was their time to step into the starting role. So we lost a pretty big mentor in losing him, but, Theo Epstein and the Cubs have a lot of money in their pockets, and they need something to do. They're trying to contend for a World Series now. It's been, 104 years since they won a World Series, so it's been quite a long time.
Yeah. Now, would you have given Lester the $155 million that the Cubs did?
Quite honestly, I would, just because, like I said, he'd be a huge mentor. But it's almost good they didn't give him that kind of money because they were able to do so much more than wrapping up $155 million in one single player.
Right.
They were able to get 3 quality starting pitchers. They were able to get Yohan Moncada, who will be exceptional for the Red Sox in 2 years. So yeah, I mean, I see pros and cons with both things, but I personally probably would have given them the money.
Right. All right, so that moves us on to the second acquisition that the Red Sox had this offseason, and they traded an outfielder that they didn't really have for that long in Cespedes, and they traded reliever Alex Wilson as well to Detroit for Rick Porcello. And Porcello's 26. Yeah, his career best ERA, 3.43, which isn't exactly great.
It's not great.
But what do you think of that? I mean, the Red Sox did have a lot of outfielders, especially with Han Ram now playing left field. So I guess it's kind of a trade that you expected them to make. You kind of knew they were going to trade an outfielder, right?
Exactly. Going into the offseason, there was rumors of the Yoenis Cespedes trade. No one really took into it because we were hurting for that big power bat in the outfield all year long. But once the Red Sox signed Hanley Ramirez, there was really no room for Cespedes. He wasn't open to talking about a contract extension, so you kind of knew you were going to lose him after the season ended. So he was that piece to move.
Right.
As far for Rick Porcello, I like the move. Like you said, his ERA isn't that great. But once you look more into the numbers, he's a ground ball pitcher. And when you have an infield with Miguel Cabrera at third base, Prince Fielder at first base, it's not really a great infield for a ground ball pitcher. But moving into Fenway with the likes of Mike Napoli, Dustin Pedroia, Xander Bogaerts, who's to look better in spring at shortstop, and Pablo Sandoval at third, who's known for his defense, even though he's overweight.
Yeah.
It'll hopefully help him out. I think he'll do good. He's gotten some great advice from people like Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. So only time will tell, but we'll see. We'll see how he does this year.
Right. And then third acquisition, it's funny. The big acquisitions didn't happen until much later, obviously, free agency. Yeah. But another important one is the Justin Masterson pickup. So he's turning 30 right before opening day, and he was actually in the Red Sox organization. So this was kind of a little nice warm coming, I guess, for the Red Sox and Masterson.
I absolutely love the signing of Justin Masterson. He was one of the pitchers I wanted to go after in spring training. I feel like him. He's had some good years after he left Boston last year. It was filled with injuries. He was injured at spring training and beginning of last year, and never really came back to his normal form after that. But this year he started spring training healthy. He's back with the pitching coach that he started with in the Red Sox organization, John Farrell, who's now the manager. Juan Nieves is a great pitching coach for the Red Sox. He's had a lot of success in the last 2 years. He's pitched well in spring training, but like I said, with Rick Porcello, we'll see how it happens as the year goes on. He just needs to stay healthy. We'll see what comes of him this year.
Right, and then another piece that the Red Sox added in the rotation was left-hander Wade Miley, who he had that 3.79 ERA, but you have to consider that he's playing with the Diamondbacks out in Chase Field, which is definitely a hitter's park. So you know that runs are going to be inflated there. So the Red Sox, they give up Ruby De La Rosa and Alan Webster, couple prospects, but I think it kind of shows that the Red Sox were ready to give up, whatever kind of prospects they needed in order to get major league ready talent.
I definitely agree with you there. always hear about the Red Sox farm system, and they never really make any moves with them. And then after this past year, all the trouble they had, they tried putting Ruby in the rotation. They tried putting Alan Webster in the rotation, and they didn't really work out. Alan Webster has great stuff, just lacks the confidence in his stuff. So maybe a change of scenery is best for him. Ruby is a hard thrower. He was good for most of the year, but there was no real place for him. So getting Wade Miley, I wanted a pitcher like Wade Miley for the Red Sox to get. My first initial prospective pitcher was Chris Medlin. And I see a lot of stuff in Wade Miley that I saw in Chris Medlin, that kind of like back-end rotation starter who can give you 200-plus innings, may not be the best one, may not throw the hardest stuff, but he'll get you what you need.
Right. So the Red Sox made a couple other moves. They picked up some relievers like Anthony Varvaro, Zeke Sproul, guys like that. What do you think of sort of the more minor additions? Maybe a guy like the Craig Breslow signing was nice because he had the $4 million option, and then the Red Sox were able to kind of just not take that option. They declined it and signed him for $2 million instead. So a nice little $2 million discount there for the Red Sox.
I like most of the minor additions they have. Craig Breslow coming back for the cheaper price is good. He didn't really have a great year last year, but there was a lot of interest in him from other teams around the league. But the Red Sox were able to strike up a deal with him, especially after losing Andrew Miller. We needed that lefty back in the bullpen, so it's good to have him back. Anthony Varvaro, I really like him. The Braves, for some reason, put him on waivers, and that's how the Red Sox got him. He's had a sub-3 ERA for the Braves for the last 2 or 3 years. Another ground ball pitcher like the Red Sox have been stockpiling this offseason, so I think it would be a good kind of Burke Badenhoff replacement since he signed with the Reds. To be completely honest, I don't really know much about Zeke Sproul, but we'll see how he fits into the Red Sox plan as the season goes on.
Right. And then you guys picked up somebody who was kind of a relief pitcher turned starter, turned relief pitcher, turned starter in Alexi Ogando. Played for the Rangers, and he was really good for the Rangers for, a short period of time. So, kind of low risk, high reward pickup there.
Yeah. I think the reasoning behind that was, like I said, we lost Andrew Miller, so we lost that hard-throwing reliever that can shut down the 7th or 8th inning, bridging that way to the closer. And when Oganda's healthy, he throws hard. He's a righty, not a lefty, but he can definitely try and fill that void left by Andrew Miller, even though no one can really fill an Andrew Miller void. So if he can stay healthy, it's a good pickup. And if he doesn't stay healthy, the Red Sox didn't really spend too much on him. So it's kind of a low-risk, high-reward situation. Right.
Now, the last sort of minor move I want to touch on here before we get to the big stuff is Will Middlebrooks and the Red Sox sending him out to San Diego for Ryan Hannigan. Will Middlebrooks looked so good towards the beginning of his stint with the Red Sox. I just remember him homering game after game after game. Mm-hmm. And then after that, he couldn't hit above 200 if his life depended on it.
Exactly. I think that's the whole thing with Will Middlebrooks is he's young. Boston is a hard market to play in for a lot of young players. You see that even some big players can succeed, like Carl Crawford. He couldn't succeed in Boston. It's a tough market to play in. So I think a change of scenery is one of those things that will benefit Will Middlebrooks, especially going to a place like San Diego. Even with him, the Padres also picked up Will Myers, Matt Kemp, and Justin Upton.
Right.
So he's gonna be a part of a stacked lineup. They're not going to depend on him like the Red Sox did for power last year.
Right.
They'll be towards the bottom of the order, and I think he'll succeed in San Diego. I hope he succeeds in San Diego.
Right. So now moving on to the Red Sox big acquisitions here, sort of spruce up the lineup. You guys picked up Pablo Sandoval from the Giants. You have Hanram playing left field now. He's going to move from short. And I assume you guys are going to have Bogarts play short, right?
Yeah.
Assume that's the plan, yeah. So those were arguably the two best position players on the market. And the Red Sox picked up both of them. So that completely retools the left side of their infield and the left side of their outfield with Pablo Manning third and Hanley in left. Do you like both signings? Too much money? Too little money? Was it a steal?
To be completely honest, the whole Hanley Ramirez signing surprised me. I had no idea the Red Sox had interest in him, and the day we signed him was actually the first time I heard us connected with him. I heard about our connection with him probably around noontime that day, and then at midnight I got a text from ESPN saying that they agreed to terms. At first it kind of worried me because he is injury prone, but when he's healthy, he's a 300 career hitter. Like you said, one of the best hitters on the open market this year. He came into camp really, really bulked out. He spent a lot of time in the gym, and moving to a position like left field will hopefully keep him a little bit more healthier this year.
Right.
So the Red Sox were able to pad their deal with him, so that way it depends on how many plate appearances he gets for the incentives to kick in. So I think the way they padded it, and I think his vesting option also depends on how many plate appearances he gets. So it's more team safe for the Red Sox with that. So I overall like if he can stay occupied in left field and not get bored of it and not result to his clubhouse, the clubhouse monster he's been a few years ago. I think it'll be a good deal.
Right. Now you had mentioned Hanley Ramirez getting in shape and everything. I saw a picture of Pablo Sandoval that kind of showed the opposite of being in shape. Thoughts on the Pablo Sandoval signing?
I really like the Pablo Sandoval signing. Like I said before, Will Middlebrooks kind of struggled in Boston. We haven't had that third base power / fielder / all around good player since Adrian Beltre came to the Red Sox for that 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the signing of Sandoval was a great option. He's a proven postseason hitter like David Ortiz. Even though he's overweight, he's extremely nimble on his feet. He plays great defense at third base. May not be able to run like everybody else, but he holds his own.
Right. And again, we're on with Rob Deary. Rob's an intern with the Boston Red Sox. You guys also re-signed Koji Uehara to a 2-year, $18 million deal. He's going to be 40 years old. And
on Friday, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and he had some regression this season. He's always been solid. 2014 wasn't his best year, but what are your thoughts on Koji?
I like Koji. The fans of Boston love him. He's a fan favorite. I don't think he'll be our closer for both of those 2 years. Right now, he's hurt. His opening day status is questioned. Probably not going to be ready for opening day. So we'll see what else we have in the bullpen for a closer. But I think he's a good piece. He's very deceptive with that fastball. It only goes about 89, 90 miles an hour, but it still seems to fool hitters like a 99-mile-an-hour fastball, which I don't understand. But we'll see how it goes. See if he stays healthy. If not, move him to more of a setup role, maybe middle inning pitcher. We got some options in our bullpen now, so I'm not too worried about it.
Right. And sort of the last major signing, you went international for this one, and you picked up Yoan Moncada, 19 years old, switch hitter. He's played some infield. He's also played some outfield. He's kind of a jack of all trades, 5-tool player. Thoughts on Moncada? I
think the Red Sox getting Moncada was a shock to everyone in the baseball world. I remember talking with you about it a couple days before. Everyone thought it was a sure thing he was going to the Yankees. The Yankees had, 3 or 4 private workouts for him at Yankee Stadium. It seemed like it was a sink in the bag. And then the Red Sox came out with a $31 million offer, I think it was.
Correct, yep.
About $4 million higher than the Yankees offer. I think it's a great signing for the Red Sox because after this year, they're being heavily penalized on their international market spending because they spent so much on Rusney Castillo, Yoan Moncada, and everyone else that they've gotten from Cuba and the Dominicans the last few years. So it's going to be a while before they can be big players in that market again. So
right. So might as well go out with a bang.
Exactly.
Right. So how long, one, do you think Moncada is going to be spending in the minors? And then two, when he does finally get called up to the majors, where do you think the Red Sox are going to play him in the field?
To go off of the where you play him thing right now, I don't think there's really a set position for him right now. He's one of those get him now while you can, figure out where he plays later kind of thing. I think he's got at least 2 more years in the minors. he took a few months off from baseball to start the whole process, so he hasn't played in a while. So getting him into spring training quickly was a must. I think he's starting in Level A Greenville. So I think it'll be at least 2.5 years before he comes up to the majors. The latest prediction I have for his position, I've seen people say that when David Ortiz retires, that Pablo Sandoval will move to DH, and then we'll play Moncada at third, because he's a big guy.
Yeah.
We have Bogarts and Pedroia locked up for quite a few years. And I think third base would be the best place for him.
Right. Okay. So looking at the AL East as a whole, what teams do you like? Who do you think is going to take that division?
It's really hard to say because, like you said before, the AL East is completely different than what we're used to. It's not. I don't think it's baseball's best division anymore. I think that belongs to the AL West. No one really seems to have that rotation that will take you all the way. The closest that there is to a great rotation is the Tampa Bay Rays, and half of their pitching staff's hurt. So it doesn't look like anyone's running away with the division right now. I think the Red Sox will take it just because of all the thump in their lineup, and I think they can get by with the rotation they have now until the trade deadline. I really, really, really like what the Blue Jays did this year. They would have been my pick if Marcus Stroman hadn't gotten hurt. Marcus Stroman, arguably one of their aces, had to have Tommy John surgery this offseason, so he's not going to be playing next year. So that leaves him with a rotation of R.A. Dickey, Mark Burley, Drew Hutchison, and a few other people that haven't really gotten that starting pitcher role in a long time. So their pitching is going to hurt a little bit. But the pickups of Josh Donaldson and Russell Martin were two huge pickups for the Blue Jays. That 3, 4, 5 of Donaldson, Encarnacion, and Bautista is going to be formidable for any pitcher that pitches against them. No one's going to want to pitch to them.
Absolutely.
So,
yep.
We'll see how it goes on. The Orioles didn't really do too much. Kind of just stayed the middle of the pack. They lost Nick Markakis, Nelson Cruz, and Andrew Miller that they had for a little while, but they didn't really pick anyone back up. So I don't really expect too much out of them. The Yankees, there's still a lot of question marks with the Yankees. They need production out of their big-name players that they got last offseason. Brian McCann hit .232 last year. He's a .272 hitter. Kind of needs to step that up if they want to be better. Ellsbury needs to stay healthy like he was last year. He can't go back to his one healthy year, one unhealthy year kind of thing. And that the rotation's still kind of up in the air. Tanaka not having the surgery last year and ending up pitching towards the end of the year, which I don't agree with.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Well, every team in the AL East has their questions. Like I said, it's hard to predict a winner, but off of everything right now, I'd say the Red Sox are the most primed to make a run at the AL East this year. Right.
Okay. Just because I'm a Yankee fan and I want to get a Red Sox perspective on the Yankee fan, what do you think about Alex Rodriguez this season?
That one's a tough one.
Yeah.
It seems like it seems like that everyone's torn on what Alex Rodriguez will be. The Yankees are even torn because they have him coming back. He was their third baseman, and then they signed Chase Headley to a 3-year deal, I think it was.
Yeah, 3 or 4, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So even the Yankees are trying kind of telling A-Rod, we don't know what we're going to do with you.
Right.
So it's a mess. Hopefully the Yankees can find a way to make it not a big distraction this year. If it does become a big distraction, that will help. That will make their road during the season even harder.
Right.
But if they can minimize the distraction that causes, then they might be able to get some production out of him and make the season easier.
Right. All right, Rob. Thanks a bunch for coming on. It was great having you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
That was Rob Deary, student here at Quinnipiac, intern for the Red Sox, which is pretty cool, giving us his perspective on the American League East, the Red Sox, the Yankees. Gave us some nice feedback on every team. but time flew by. We're going to have to wrap things up. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks for listening to The Locker Room. I'm Josh Brewer for Jason Davis. We will see you guys next Monday. It's going to be April and baseball will be starting. Crazy to think about. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.